1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Hey everyone, Shawn Clement here for Golf WRX, and we're at the magnificent Royal Quebec Golf Club on one of the practice holes here at the back of the range. My office is exactly 775 yards from here, and we got a nice quiet spot to talk about some very important topics. And right now we're in a top 5 things of what not to do in your golf swing. This is number 4 on that list. We're counting down to number 1. On Monday, we were talking about the resistance in the swing, how we don't want to resist in the swing. And today we're talking about connection. Connection, you'll hear a lot of things like, okay, you want to stick a head cover under the armpit so that your elbow doesn't come out of position, so that we can circumvent a possible over-the-top swing. So that's a good one. So, or we can do it with both arms staying connected, have a towel underneath your armpits so that you have a proper coordination between upper body, the body turn and the arm swing. So the actual way a human being works, because this machine works at 40 million bits of information per second, and when you're putting something underneath your armpit, number 1, you're ripping the club off of its natural arc. Let me explain. Back to one of our fabulous drills called the grass whip drill. If I only had one arm and I'm cutting grass with one arm, notice how the center of that swing is my right shoulder socket, and the grass whip keeps cutting grass right there underneath my shoulder. That's the center of the machine. So if I take this machine and I swing it towards you, notice I'm at the end of the rope and everything gets pulled upwards and then back around. So this is the freedom that you're afforded with the shoulder socket. You get 360 degrees worth of range. It gets dicey though when we put both hands on the grip. Now the center of the machine is over here between the clavicles, called the sternal notch. And when I swing back and through, my arms, to get that freedom, the body has to rotate out of the way. Well, it just so happens that we've got 2.5 to 3 million years of wonderful self-preserving evolution, where we were throwing a lot of stuff at our food for all that time because we were hunter-gatherers. So if I wanted to throw something, I'm skipping a stone on water, well, the shoulders only have 20 degrees of range. That's it. So when you bring both hands together to take your grip, your arms are basically locked in, and you have basically a little buffer zone about 5 degrees. That's all you got. So if I want to throw a stone over here and I don't move the body out of the way, I'm going to nail myself. So the arm's going to crash into my rib cage, and then everything's going to get diverted across my chest, and I'm going to bruise the upper part of my chest or my shoulder. So in reality, what happens is the brain goes to the ground, uses the ground to get your body out of the way so you have access to the pond. And there you go. So I'm not hurting myself, and I actually now have a human catapult. It's called a kinetic chain. So if I'm snapping a punch in boxing, you'll notice they bounce around so that they can get the ground, use the ground to get the body out of the way. So you're always going to the ground to use the ground so that the rib cage and pelvis can glide out of the way of this swinging arm. So if I swing back and through without stopping right here on this angle, notice my arms are far, far away from my body. Notice how my right elbow is wide. Now that right elbow has to fold at one point because I can't go any further than that without strain. So now the right arm has to fold and the wrists are going to hinge. What does that for me? Just gravity. Gravity taking care of the anatomy for me as I swing back and through. So notice the nice width I have in this direction as well. So if I send this towards you, notice how my arms are lifting beautifully in front of my body. If I send it towards you the other way, see how I'm on plane? So this is what puts me on plane. Now if I try to connect the armpit, see how I just ripped that thing right out of the arc. How do I get through now? I'm stuck behind me. So now I'm coming in way too much from the inside, and I'll either shank the ball or shove it way right, scuff the ground before the ball, or I'll have to come over the top. And when I do that, I switch axis of rotation. Now I'm sticking it in the ground, slicing it off to the right, pulling it to the left. A whole crazy can of worms is coming out just from me trying to connect the arm. Now look at it this way. If I'm playing fastball, you know, if we look at how things happen in a fastball match, especially you look at the pitchers on the Olympic team and the female Olympic team, phenomenal velocity. Look at Sports Science where they compared a farm pitcher with a 95-mile-per-hour fastball to the top female pitcher of the time. She broke the glass, he didn't. Okay, that's how much velocity comes out of there. So I got wonderful velocity from here, and trust me, this body is really well connected. It takes 2 horses to pull a human body apart. Man, we're so well put together. So it's not our job to hold the arms to the body. Good Lord didn't make you defective. You got a beautiful machine here, and here you are insisting on nipping and tucking all these positions because you're afraid of doing something wrong. Now the over the top happens because this is your target. So when you go for that, if I'm throwing a ball towards the ball on the ground, that is a perfect over the top position. So if I had a club that I'm throwing in that direction, notice over the top is impossible to have. If I throw the club at the ball, I need over the top. But then ball being your target, how are you going to go over there? That's where it's dicey, right? So then the person next to you says, well, you're coming over the top. You got this defective elbow, defective right hand, defective right shoulder. We got to fix that. We got to put a little something underneath your armpit because, you know, Pinocchio needs some help here. It's all horse hockey, okay? So all I got to do is allow my arms to swing freely in a specific direction. So if I have a dandelion on its stem, and I want to cut the dandelion stem in that direction. Well, here we go. Notice I cut the stem, the bulb falls to the ground, and I didn't break the ground. You could see that my arc was wonderfully wide. I had this beautiful expansiveness. That's where I get accuracy. So if you look at it from this angle, if I'm swinging back and through without stopping, cut grass, look at that swing plane. Notice it's not too high, it's not too low, it's just right. So if you can cut grass in both directions with your grass whip, you're on plane. So now I want to cut through the dandelion stem. Well, my brain sees where that dandelion is getting cut. Here we go. Woo! See that T take off? Whew. Man, I couldn't demonstrate that for you any better, could I? Notice how the bulb falls to the ground? So, your machine already built for this stuff. You just need the right task. So, have a look at wisdomingolfpremium.com for $5 a month. You get access to over 40 hours of dual screen information on what to do. And I'm not going to talk to you about what not to do. I'm just going to get down to business and say, hey, you want to hit the ball really well. This is what you need to do. This is the task you need to be on. Here are the short circuits that are going to prevent you from doing that task. And we can get you up and running very nicely. And the evolution of learning is just fabulous because it starts with this machine. We know this machine intimately. We're never going to tell you anything on how to go against it. No resistance, no body part positioning. And we're never going to, go against how you're wired to perform that machine. So we're wired to perform external tasks. we suck at body part positioning. And I'm telling you, the science behind this is massive, all right? Stacks and stacks of studies, hundreds of studies done by dozens of different scientific bodies from dozens of different universities that all say, without a shadow of a doubt, when we're focused on body parts, we don't perform well. To say it politely, we suck. And when we're focused on external factors, like, hey, I got a dart in my hands, there's a dartboard right there, I want the bullseye, I'm just focused on sending it to the bullseye. Versus the person's gonna go, look at this elbow, I wonder how if I make the same move with my elbow every time. You know who's gonna win there, don't you? So, enjoy this little tidbit. I hope you make it to our premium channel. We've got some fabulous services in there for you. And, you know, looking forward to seeing you next Monday for number 3 on what not to do. And then next week for Golf WRX number 2 on what not to do. And then we're going to count down to number 1. All the best. Enjoy.